Hi, what's up? With another ranking video. Once again, we are doing something a little different today. Alright, I am recreating the first ever ranking video I've done today. A little over 2 years ago, I ranked the first 40 records that I reviewed on this channel. This was my first time really getting into, the whole music critic scene and reviewing critically acclaimed records. I had 1,000 subscribers when I made that video. Now I have 30,000. So thank you for that. All right, if you've been watching me for a while, all right, this is probably something that is interesting to you because my tastes have drastically changed. I mean, there are some records on this list that went up a few spots, down a few spots, up many spots, down many spots. I'm super excited to get into this today. All right, I've been wanting to redo this for a while. I go back and I watch that old video and I just cringe at some of the picks that I had in that list. So this is setting the record straight. All right, I don't have exact scores for this, but if you guys want me to create some exact scores and put it on like album of the year or something for all of these videos, and I would be down to do that. If you need a quick refresher of all the albums that are here, I'll put them all on the screen right now. All right, I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna do it right now.
Look into your heart, you will find there's nothing there to hide. Take me as I am, take my life.
Coming in at 40, dead last, I have King Crimson's Lizard. There's a lot of King Crimson records on this list. There's like 6 of them because that was the fan base I originally tapped into when I started making videos. So that's why I ended up covering like half their discography very early into my channel. I was just never really a fan of this record, nothing against it. The record is still very complex, it's great prog rock. It just absolutely fails to emotionally hit me like their other records do. It was originally placed at 37, so it's dropping down a few spots, but I still love Lady of the Dancing Water, and Lizard is a fun, creative endeavor, 20 minutes of constantly, changing time signatures and everything like that, but it's just, it's not. This album is not my cup of tea, and I think I speak for a lot of King Crimson fans when I say that shit too, because it's just not, I don't know, it's not regarded. I still do want to cover In the Wake of Poseidon King though. I don't know, I do love this band. At 39, I got Pavements, Slanted and Enchanted. This was originally at 38, so it's dropping 1 spot. This is the kind of raw and noisy slacker rock that I just never really could get into. I know I've tried re-listening to this project maybe 3 or 4 times, and it leaves the same taste in my mouth. But for some reason, I like Dinosaur Jr. a lot more. The track here I still like, but that's definitely because it's the most tame on the record. I was told that I would like Crooked Rain more than this one, so I still wanna listen to that record. Next at 38, I got Genesis, Selling England by the Pound. I had this originally at 34 2 years ago, so it's dropping a few spots. I got nothing against Genesis. I understand why someone would call this one of the greatest symphonic, prog bands of all time, album of all time. I get it. It is incredibly epic. The vocals on the opener are wonderful. More Fool Me is incredible. The Cinema Show. This all comes down to personal taste. I don't find myself ever wanting to go back to this record, and that's okay. Maybe that'll change. I've said before in the past, maybe once I grow a little bit older, I'll become more fond of prog rock and that whole area. Next at 37, I got Boards of Canada's Tomorrow's Harvest. I originally had this one at 30, so it's dropping down more spots. All right, so far, all the ones on this list have dropped down a couple spots. This is an incredibly bone-chilling record. All right, it has some of their most serene ambient moments like Sundown, and some of their worst moments on Palace Posse. All right, fuck that song. I love the palindrome that this record presents to me. All right, and I've said that in the past. It is an incredibly creative record, but from a band that's one of my favorites, and they have 3 records on this list, I'll spoil it, that are all within the top 15. Based on how climate change and how the world will develop, all right, if humans end up going extinct this will be one of the greatest records of all time. Coming in at 36, I have Death's Dynamic Shroud with I'll Try Living Like This. I originally had this at 20. All right, so what happened? Why did I drop it down 16 spots? It's just I haven't made room for it to grow on me as much as the other records on this list, and that's just how it goes. I still love tracks like CD Player Part 3 and Loving Is Easy just as much as I did back then. But it's just, I think the emphasis on the other music I had on that list has been put ahead of it, and just some of the more dodgy moments on this record is something that I can't really ignore compared to some of the perfect albums that I have later on in the list. I do think I was jumping the gun a little bit putting this at number 20. All right, I do think it was a little crazy for me to do that. Still a super trippy vaporwave record. I love it, but it's just not my cup of tea right now. All right, it could come back up in the future if I do another re-ranking, maybe 5 years from now. All right, at 35, I got Islands, King Crimson. This was at 36 2 years ago. All right, so it went up one spot. I still love this record. I love to listen to this. In my opinion, it has some of their most serene and beautiful moments. Very atmospheric record. It makes you feel as if I'm in a field and the wind is blowing on me, but the album cover is like space, so it's like I'm picturing space at the same time. Formentera Lady is such a great start into the record, and the outro is incredible. All right, Islands is such an amazing song, one of their best in my opinion. It just absolutely sucks that Ladies of the Road is on this record. It does not fit the vibe of this album at all. It makes no sense to me, to be honest. Next is Dots and Loops by Stereolab. I do appreciate that is a wasp. You need to go away. I do appreciate how soothing this record is, and I think soothing is a good word to describe this. Oh my god, I tend to get a little bit sidetracked whenever I listen to this record, and I don't know if it's the record's fault or mine, to be honest, at this point. I think it's mine, because I always have a great time listening to this, but it's just nothing really, pulls on my heartstrings like I wanted to. Breakage is such a good opener though. I do think me calling it sophisticated elevator music in my last ranking was a little shallow. Ticker Taper of the Unconscious is just such a fucking great song, but I originally had this at 39 and it's at 34 now, so it is growing on me. At 33, I got Wilco Yankee Hotel Foxtrot. I originally had this at 22, so it's dropping down 10 spots. Why? I think the same reason as Death's Dynamic Shroud dropping down spots. I kind of stopped paying attention to this record. Even though I have re-listened to it, tracks like I Am Trying to Break Your Heart, I'm the Man Who Loves You, Ashes of American Flags, which is the best song. I still love those songs, but tracks like Jesus, etc. never really hit me as much as they hit everybody else. But yeah, this record never ceases to make me feel, lonely and isolated in myself, so it does do that very well. It's still such a great record, but it's just, for me, hasn't been the one. Next is King Crimson's Larks, Tongues, and Aspic. I originally had this at 35, now it's at 32. If you are a fan of uncommon time signatures, I cannot recommend this record to you the most. For me personally, it doesn't matter what time signature is going on. I'm not freaking out over any unusual shit. So I understand why part 1 and part 2 on this record are such amazing tracks. Part 2 specifically. But Easy Money is dog shit. Book of Saturday is still incredible though, and that's why I have it honestly as high up as I want to on this list. But I understand, I'm an asshole. Alright, next I have Fishman's Long Season. I originally had this at 21, and now I got it at 31. This record has not grown off me. Alright, quite the contrary. I actually like it more than I did before. So why has it dropped 10 spots? Because I don't return to this version of the record anymore. And it's kind of mind-blowing to me that Rate Your Music has this as the 22nd best record of all time, but the live version is better. And I listen to the live version of this album way more. It's way longer, the performances are better, everything about it is better. So I don't return to the studio version anymore. And if the studio version was the only version to exist in a hypothetical universe, then I probably wouldn't have it at 31. I'd have it way the fuck higher. Probably higher than what I had it at before. But still, it's an incredible dream pop record, and I think of this record every night. This is an album that I cannot recommend enough. Next, I got Duster's Stratosphere. This album is so polarizing to me because I love the slowcore aspects of this record. Gold Dust is one of my favorite songs ever. But the slacker rock moments, I'm still trying to grow on. But this record is pure melancholy. This knocks me on my ass every time. It puts me in a fucking hole. Playing, excuse me, I'm recording. Tracks like Constellations and Inside Out still, send the worst chills down my spine every time I listen to them, and it's never consensual. Next I have Yes, Close to the Edge. It was originally at 19, now it's at 29. I actually can't give a good reason as to why this dropped 10 spots. I just think I just appreciated other music more, and because prog was something I was listening to a lot at the time, so prog in general kind of grew off me. But don't get it twisted, And You and I is still one of my favorite songs ever. It's so beautiful. You know, the second that one moment hits on it, I still recommend this record to everybody. You know, this record will get you out of a rut. It is incredibly uplifting, and it always improves my mood every time. And plus, it's a great green album cover, which is fucking rare. Next I have The Strokes' Is This It? I love this record, and I still do. I love the album cover. I just think the new Abnormal, which I like more, really opened their eyes as to what this band can really do to me. It is still a collection of 11 very tight breakup indie songs that it's incredibly consistent across the board. You cannot fucking go wrong with a single track on here. From the title track to Take It or Leave It, this record does not leave space for anything. It is fucking beating the shit out of you the whole time you're listening to it. I love it. I was absolutely foolish putting Spiderland at 40 on my last ranking. I don't know why I did that. That was so stupid of me. It was so dumb. For a lot of people, you know, this is their first post-rock record, which is not good. All right, kind of like how Loveless is now normalized as people's first shoegaze record, which is also not the way to go either. I listen to tracks like Dawn, Aman, and I just do not understand how they created that sort of atmosphere and how they consistently did it on all these songs on here. The whole record feels like a panic attack, and I truly did not understand that up until like a few months ago when I re-listened to it, and I almost started breaking down because of how fucking stupid I was for putting this at 40. Plus the spoken word bits were something that I just didn't like at all. So now when it comes to spoken word, I don't mind it at all. At 26, I have The Glow Part 2. I originally had this at 18, but it has not grown off me at all. Although I do think I liked Mount Erie's self-titled more. A Crow Looked at Me more. I think for many people out there, due to the pretentiousness of reggae music, this is the only record that they've heard from Phil, and it should not be like that at all. Not to say that it's not amazing, it is, and the atmosphere on this record is incredible. Headless Horseman is still one of my favorite songs that I've reviewed on this channel. The constant foghorn of reminding us where we're at mentally is terrifying. And it's weird because I enjoy this record more, alright, than I did when I first heard it. But I don't know why, it's just in a lower spot now. I think it's just natural, I don't know. Next is Animal Collective, Meriwether Post Pavilion. I originally had this at 31. Right, so I think the reason why this has grown on me as much as it has is just because the psychedelic parts of this record continue to get better and better for me as I continue to go down their discography. As I continue to listen to this record, I find myself gaining more appreciation for the deeper tracks, like Also Frightened and No More Runnin'. I think this record is very underrated, in my opinion. Next is Talk Talk Spirit of Eden at 24. I originally had this at 27, but actually, I think this record has grown off me. Because honestly, I returned to Laughingstock way more, but still, you know, I Believe in You still gives me chills, bro. Chills. You know, The Rainbow is also incredible. Very different post-rock record from fucking Slint, I'll tell you that right now. It's a lot more meditative, a lot more spiritual. I cannot recommend this record enough. 23, I got Read by King Crimson. This was originally at 28, so we're going up. We're going up a few spots. You know, I've tried to deny it. I can no longer deny it. Starless is incredible. That's one of their best songs. One More Red Nightmare is still my favorite song by them though. And the opener title track is just so explosive. This record really just does not miss. I think it's just a great, solid prog rock record. It does not fail to leave me in suspense on multiple occasions. Next is Interpol, Turn on the Bright Lights. I had this at 13, now it's down to 22. And to be honest, this record did grow off me a little bit. I cannot deny that the first 5 songs on this record are just such an incredible start to this album. But to me, that does make it a little bit front-loaded because halfway through, on tracks like Hands Away and Obstacle 2, what are we doing? After that, I feel like this record just kind of has a hard time picking itself back up. But I still love Untitled, one of my favorite songs, period. Post-rock mixed with dream pop, mixed with sex, mixed with drugs, mixed with New York. Next is Closer by Joy Division. I originally had this at 12, now it's at 21. This record gives us front row seats into Ian Curtis's existential crisis. Production-wise, I feel like it's nowhere near as good as Unknown Pleasures. You either like the electronic aspects of this record or you don't. I do, but to me, I was wondering at the start whether or not I like this more than Unknown Pleasures, but due to how much I've listened to it within the past 2 years, it's clear that I like their debut more. The second half of this record, tracks like Decades, Eternal, 24 Hours, is some of the most depressing music I've ever heard in my entire life. You cannot be in a good mood listening to this record. At 20, I got The Queen Is Dead. I originally had this at 25, so it's went up 5 spots. But originally, I think I've grown a rough appreciation towards this record. And I say rough because I have checked out, maybe 4 of their records at this point. And honestly, I like their other records just as much as this one. I think their self-titled is better, if we're keeping it a buck. I still can't deny that mostly every song on this record hits, besides Iveka and the Tutu. I still fucking hate that song. But tracks like the intro and Never Had No One Ever did grow on me since I originally heard this. In tracks like There Is a Light That Never Goes Out and I Know It's Over just continue to be favorites from this band. Next is Death Consciousness, this one from 10 to 19. All right, so it dropped a few spots, and I do think I like it less than I did back then. To me, I've always liked the first half more than the second half, but Earth Mover is still one of the best things I've ever heard. But this record is so great because there's something on this record that can go for everyone, and I know it might not seem like that just because it's so depressive, but you got some great shoegaze moments, post-rock moments, and even goth rock. And if you hate everything on this record, you at least like the intro. All right, so I do love this album, and there's a time and a place for everything on here, whether it's pondering to the intro in a field or listening to Hunter in the gym. This record is very versatile, and I think that it does not get enough credit for being so. All right, next I got Sigur Rós. I originally had this record at 9, now I have it at 18. I said in my first video that this was one of my favorite first ever listening experiences that I've ever heard, and to me this album is more of an experience as something that you can just return to every so often. I think me dropping the record down a couple numbers is just because I've developed personal relationships with every record up on this list at this point. So and this was not something that I really have. Even though I have it at 18, I would still call mostly every song on this perfect. Svefn G Englar, still one of my favorite songs. And speaking of Iceland, this leads us into our next pick, Smoothly. We got Björk with Vespertine. Believe it or not, this is not my favorite record from her. It's not. Alright, I'll say in the future what that is, but it's not this one. I originally had this at 14, now I have it at 17, which is weird because this record grew on me. I'm not too sure why it's like that either, but the production on this record is fucking fantastic, and I give Björk all the credit. Tracks like It's Not Up To You has got me through some rough fucking days, I'll tell you that. At number 16, alright, 2 years ago, I had it at 16 as well. Alright, Velocity Designed Comfort by Sweet Trip. Love this record, even the harsh moments on the opener track have even grown on me, and I knew that would happen. I think Aphex Twin has helped that. My favorites on this record remain the same. Chocolate Matter, incredible track. To All Dancers, amazing design. 2-3, it's glitchy, it's electronic, it's shoegaze. This record is mostly everything that it can do, and it's hard to believe that a record that came out in 2003 is this fucking futuristic. If someone told me that they were a time traveler and pulled any song out of this record and told me it was from 2058, I'd believe it. Next I got In the Aeroplane Over the Sea by Neutral Milk Hotel. Rest in peace to Anne Frank. Alright, I'll say it right now. I originally had this at 7, it's coming down to 15. Did not grow off me at all. Not sure why that happened, just the way the cookie crumbles, I guess. But I still love this record, everything about it. It's so harrowing. Jeff really makes you feel his fucking pain on this record, man, I'll tell you that right now. One of the best first 3 tracks on record, period. This album deserves all the love and praise that it gets. You really cannot describe this record in words at all. You gotta hear it. Next, I had Portishead with Dummy. I originally had this at 24 2 years ago. Now I have it at 14. I think I've just grown into this record and I've built a relationship with it, to be honest. The live performances of these songs are just incredible to me. It's a trip-hop masterpiece, even though I like Third more. I do. I like Third more, I'll say it right now. Tracks like Wandering Star, Mysterions did grow on me, but y'all know that I love Glory Box and Rhodes. Beth's vocals are haunting and sensual at the same time. Not sure how she does it. And yeah, this record's great. Next I have the King Crimson record. Not my favorite, but In the Court of the Crimson King. I originally had this at 11. Now I got it at 13. It's got flutes. It's got fucking flutes, man. It's got flutes. I Talk to the Wind, incredible song. Epitaph is devastating, and I can't believe that it was made in that year. This record is so ahead of its time, in my opinion. I know I shitted on Moonchild in the past. Alright, but honestly, I've come to grow fond of that track now. I'm just kidding. Next I got Music Has the Right to Children, Boards of Canada. I had this at the 6, now I got it at 11. I think my biggest criticism with this record, alright, is that it starts kind of slow. Wildlife Analysis is incredible, But then to me, it just doesn't really, it takes a while to take off. Within the past 2 years, I find myself returning to the Campfire Head phase way more whenever I want to like get that vibe. Gio Gotti, I use for different reasons. My favorite tracks on this record, honestly, all the ones that are less than 2 minutes. And I love Pete Standing Alone as well. Roy Jabib, one of the greatest electronic songs of all time, in my opinion, top 10. But yeah, An Ego in Your Mind, Telephasic Workshop. Listen, I'm sorry, but those records just never really did it for me. Next, I got Loveless. I originally had this at 26. Now I got it at 11. I think that there's a lot of people out there that pretend to like this record more than they actually do. All right, I'm not one of those people. I love this record. All right, the deep cuts on this album are the best on this album. And I'm tired of pretending like it's not. When You Sleep, hear me out. When You Sleep is not top 5 on this record. It's not. I think all of the second half of the record is better than it, if we're keeping it real. I Only Said, Blow a Wish, Coming Alone sometimes. Great fucking tracks. It does not surprise me that the band members got tinnitus after making this song. I get tinnitus after listening to it, alright? To me, it is no way, in shape or form, a beginner shoegaze record to listen to. I think you're honestly sabotaging the genre if you recommend this record first. Because in my opinion, this record is too noisy at times for the first listener of this genre to just fall in love with all of a sudden. Top 10, top 10, top 10. I got King Crimson, Discipline. This was at 33 originally, and now it's at 10. So what happened? I don't know why. They're new wave. I just fucking love the new wave shit, bro. I just fucking love the new wave shit. Every track on this record is perfect to me. Concept of Elephant Talk is so creative and so fun. I love the way it leads into frame by frame. I've talked about Mate Kudasai in the past, alright? I'm not gonna dwell on how much I fucking love that song. The Sheltering Sky is a great instrumental to kind of cool us off. Alright, this record is great. Almost perfect. Alright, I recommend this record the most out of King Crimson's discography to really anybody. Next, I got Mac DeMarco's This Old Dog. I originally had this at number 3. All right, 2 years ago. Now I have it at 9, so it fell down a little bit. But I don't know. I have a clear bias towards him. I get it. Some of the greatest albums of all time. I put his over them. I understand that. I'm sorry, but I'm really not sorry. There are so many comfort songs on this record to me. Dreams from Yesterday, Moonlight on the River, On the Level. This record has too many tracks that pull at my heartstrings. I can't just put it low on the list just because it's just Mac DeMarco. You know what I mean? I love this record. I love how it makes me feel. Next, I got Sweet Trips, You Will Never Know Why. The album, in my opinion, mixes indie pop and electronic music fucking perfectly. At first, I never knew whether or not I liked this more than Velocity Design Comfort, but I find myself returning to this one more, especially the first half of this record. I've talked about Milk before and the effect that Milk has on me, but I haven't really voiced my appreciation for the other tracks on here, like Air Supply, Darkness, Acting, No More Words to Be Found is fucking incredible. Alright, this record always just gets me in a good mood, a very calm mood, very at peace mood. I love this one. Next, I got Boards of Canada's The Campfire Head phase. I had this at 17, now I got it at 7. I am so fucking biased towards this record. I understand that Music Has the Right to Children is better. To me, man, this album fucking blows me away every time. Peacock Tail, Satellite Anthem, Icarus just kick off this record with just such a fucking vibe. Not a single miss on here. You know, it's just like you're driving, the weather is like 70 degrees, you got the window down, you got your hand out the window. Nothing can go wrong. Alright, nothing can go wrong tonight. Incredibly warm record. It's gonna be perfect for the summer. I know it. Next, I got Unknown Pleasures, Cocaine as an album. Not a single miss on this record. Ian's performances are all incredible. Guitar work is all insane. The writing, everything across the board. This is peak post-punk in my opinion. One of the greatest album covers of all time. She's Lost Control. The drums on that song are so fucking good. It's mind-blowing. Shadow Play is also incredible. Alright, this record does not fall off at all. It's strong until the end. I love it. You know, if you're looking to feel anxious and sexy at the same time, this is the one for you. This is the record for you. Coming in at 5, number 5, probably the highest jump on this list is Talking Heads, Remain in Light. I don't know what the fuck I was cooking placing this at 32. But what the fuck? What was I on? What was I on? What the fuck? What the fuck? I'm sorry, this is a perfect record. Brain cells must have reconfigurated for me to enjoy this 10 times as much as I did when I first heard it, because the way I listen to Born Under Punches right now is not the way I listened to it before. Every song on this record is fucking incredible. Cross-eyed and Painless, The Great Curve, Once in a Lifetime, which was my favorite for a while just because of its popularity, but now I've grown to like every song on this record just as much as that one. The rhythm on all of these songs are unbeatable. I don't know how the fuck they do it. It's dark magic to me. I love that shit. If Unknown Pleasures is cocaine, all right, to me, this record is heroin. Get it? Get it? Right? Right? I had this at 8, now I have it at 4. I love this record. Everything about it is amazing. It makes me want to put on some sunglasses and do some drugs. It has some of the most brash moments that the band has on tracks like Heroin, but then most beautiful moments on Femme Fatale, I'll Be Your Mirror, Sunday Morning. Sunday Morning is absolutely incredible. Today's a Sunday, actually. I should listen to the song. But yeah, I love the Banana record. Can't say anything bad about this. Yep. Next I got Brian Eno's Another Green World. Alright, I had this at 2, and now I have it at 3. Alright, I love this record just as much. It's the perfect mixture of art rock and ambient at the same time. Tracks like The Big Ship, which I actually have heard in a movie recently, End of the Tour, that I saw. Great movie. Although I love the ambient moments on this record, and I love how it's kind of the birth of that direction for him. I think the tracks with lyrics on here are my favorite. Everything Merges with the Night, I'll Come Running, St. Elmo's Fire. Some of my favorite songs I've heard on this channel, period, and they all come from that record. The pace of this album is so incredible. He does everything so well in here. One of the most creative records I've ever heard. I think the comment that recommended this to me is that it's a record that like births creativity, and that's the perfect way to describe this one. At number 2, I got Gio Gotti by Boards of Canada. All right, to me it's just funny how the record that I wanted to listen to first on this channel is one of the ones that I like the most. This record is so unsettling in so many ways, and it's so nostalgic at the same time. It just kind of reminds me of the person I was when I first heard it. I did not, when I look back at the start of my channel, I feel very nostalgic towards a lot of things during that time period in my life with this record and everything. So it's weird that Boards of Canada making nostalgic music for a living is what they did. I can't get enough of this record, and the scary moments are immediately followed up by moments of beauty, which make those moments even more beautiful to me on this record. A lot of satanic spiritual moments on this record, which I'm still questioning why they did, but me popping up those questions 2 years later and finding still things in songs and samples in songs that just did not catch me on first listen, on 5th listen, on 10th listen. This record has so many Easter eggs to it, and I can't stop listening to it, you know, and I wish it wasn't like that, just in case this album is incredibly evil, but I love this record. Coming in at number 1, I had it at number 1 2 years ago. I have it at number 1 today. I'm yet to hear a dream pop and shoegaze mixture that's better. His vocals and her vocals coming together like the perfect sandwich, all right, and the fact that they were both broken up in a relationship at some point makes this record even more surreal to me. Not a bad song off of this. I could name every song right now and list why I like it. I'm not going to though. And the fact that Brian Eno helped produce some of this record, that makes it even better. Sing, Dagger, Here She Comes being some of my favorite songs by this band, and him having a hand in that production is crazy to me. 40 Days is my favorite off the record. I've heard it 100 times. And I'm never ready. And I'm never ready every time I hear it for the fucking start of it. When the Sun Hits is the perfect track to be elected as, you know, the fan favorite of this record. And Souvlaki Space Station, to me, is the magnum opus of this record. Tracks like All Together, I think, birthed Cigarettes After Sex. If you want me to do another re-ranking for the 40 records that I did after this, albums on that ranking included like Godspeed You, Jeff Buckley, Homogenic, a lot of other records that are legendary. Let me know and I'll do that. I appreciate you for sticking around with me, and yeah, that's it.